Hello, this is Raw Automation Talk. I'm Brant Wiederhold. This is Johnny Jones with Indusol, and we'll just be going over a couple of things in this podcast. How's your day going, Johnny?
Oh man, it's hot, and I'm glad the air conditioning works.
Did it reach like 105 down in Waco? Have you guys reached like over 100 yet?
Oh yeah, yeah. It probably hasn't gotten to 105 because we don't have as much concrete as you do.
You know, I don't know what it gets down in the desert, but I'm just thinking that deserts get colder at nighttime than it does in Dallas because it's still hot even at night.
Yeah, y'all capture a lot of heat with the concrete
Yeah.
asphalt. Let's
I don't
see.
know. For those guys who ride motorcycles, you can kind of feel that all that heat coming off the concrete when you're riding on the interstates.
Well, so currently, right now, where I'm at, it's 107.
The
So
other place I keep on hearing about is like Dubai. Places like Dubai are reaching like 122 degrees, 125, that kind of stuff. So I just don't know how sustainable this is. But
well, I mean, I don't know. There's a whole rant I could go on over that industry, and it would not be politically correct.
yeah, all right. Well, we'll stick to automation today. Something that at least we know we're semi experts on. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's
So,
talk about our first one. Let's talk about the doom of the old machines.
oh God.
Whether we should rebuild them and can we even make them better? So, actually, this hit me just this week. So I can talk about this. What's your experience on some of these old machines?
Well, I mean, there's a few case erectors, case packers, palletizers that I've worked on that, I mean, they just they just need new processors. Maybe a new control panel. Uh, Update the mechanical gearing. They don't need much. I mean, I'm sure that the cost of refurbishing that machine is probably half to three quarters of what a new one would be. I mean, but you know it would be better for the environment to not have to recycle a lot of it.
Right. What if it's been there for like 15 years and the maintenance guys know it backwards and forwards, right? They know where it breaks, how to make the machine the parts. What if they're really, really good with it? So it sounds like just keep it. But yet, the problem is I don't you seeing a lot of the old Allen Bradley machines, or are they Siemens, or are they just like a weird random brand, or
They're
uh
they're mostly gonna be slicks. I see a lot of 1400, 1200s on little machines, and some of the first generation compact logics. I mean, all they really need to be is just updated to newer technology. I mean, you don't even really have to replace the entire panel, unless it was done subpar. Then maybe you might need to go to a bigger panel or whatnot, depending on the machine.
yeah. I mean, it's most likely that there's probably not going to be any kind of descriptions in the code anymore, right? So, like electrical drawings might be hard to find if you can find them. You can get some of the tags maybe out of the HMI. That kind of helps you out with some of the,
Mm-hmm.
the tags. You could do that, but I just most of these old machines, I just see that we have to suck up the program from while just uploading it, and then essentially just don't have any. It's on such an older version that there's no description.
Okay.
Which how do you reliably support this product or machine when you look at the code and it virtually means nothing. It's you know you'll have a better chance of just watching a matrix screen with ones and zeros going down because it's just what does this tag do? What does that tag do? I mean, um, it's an issue.
Yep.
Um, that and a lot of our customers are saying, you can't bring any kind of Windows 7 machine out on site. So if that's the case, then there's a lot of older software that are on a lot of older versions. I'm noticing that with not only Siemens but also Allen Bradley, but not everything works on and runs on Windows 10 64-bit. So um, it's amazing how like Microsoft is actually playing a contributing factor on you know gutting some of these machines just on the fact that um, for security reasons you just can't run older Windows based OS.
When was Windows 7 released?
Man, was it 2007?
I don't know. Let me see.
I just know that and I'm not against. I mean, I cannot be the only one, but XP was so damn good that I fought against going back to or going upgrading to 7. Once I was on 7, I was locked onto 7. Windows 8 was a joke. 8.1 was a joke. Vista was a joke. But 10 was great.
Windows 7 was launched in 2009.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's been around for a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. It's gotten its. Do you still see Windows XP stuff?
The last time I saw a Windows XP machine was in Beaumont. And that was probably 2 years ago. And it was on a palletizer. And the software for the machine was, they had this one Windows XP laptop that they walked around with in a armored guard case, and don't, if you break it, you buy the machine that it programmed. So yeah, I can't believe it's even still around as much as it is.
All right. So at some level, we have to take all these old machines, the code out of them, do our best to most likely rewrite them. Right.
Yep.
I mean, maybe by chance you can convert it, but when you do convert it, obviously you've got to add descriptions and all kinds of stuff. Another thing that's happening now is that as you start getting into the OEE stuff, is they want data out of that machine, and so they want run, they want stop, they want start, they want parts in, parts out, and hypothetically they want to be able to read which was the first alarm that happened, not the cascading ones, the alarms, but which was the first alarm that caused the mess. And then, all of this needs to be sucked up into the potentially the SCADA system for an MES solution. So it's virtually impossible. I'm hearing that, some of this old code was done by OEMs that would lock the code out. So, I don't know if you've got into any experience, but,
Yeah,
it's
but
getting difficult. Go ahead.
you take a machine that's set up like that where an OEM had everything locked up. You need run status. Great. You can put another processor nearby, write your own code to know if it's running, count product out, and give it to your SCADA system to calculate OEE. The real thing should be that you need to just gut it and update it to the newer stuff anyways, because I mean, in the next, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, who's going to have an XP machine that can run, I don't know, what was the latest version that you could run RSlogix for PLC 5?
Oh my gosh. Well, we're running into that problem right now with older versions of RSlogix 5000, with like version 16 and 19. Some of those you cannot run on a Windows 10 machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a problem. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So Brant, maybe you can tell me a little more about this. Why is it that a brand new machine that just left the machine builder's factory shows up on the floor with version 19.
Yeah, it should never be accepted. Should
And
never be accepted.
but why?
I mean,
I
I
mean, are there programmers not capable of updating the program to at least version 30?
how about 20? How about there's no there was 20 actually works really well. um, yeah, it's this is the problem. Yeah, anybody kicking out 19, that's to me it's dead. You can't store the descriptions into it. Um, you know, nowadays you should be purchasing a PLC with a processor there's quad processor inside of it, so it should have enough memory to store the description. So I think we should be killing off all the old processors that can't store that. So um, it's just a monstrosity that they've created. And what about all of the micrologix like 1000s and 1100s and 1200s? I mean, some of these, I don't know if you've been seen these, but some of them are people are still cranking them out even though they're discontinued products.
Well, and this is the logic that I hear behind it is, well, we don't like, if you're running a micrologix 1100 or 1400, you should be in your diehard core Allen Bradley, you should be on a micro 800 platform.
Agreed.
No, there's no reason why you shouldn't. But the
Either,
reason,
either that or upgrade to a compact or control a compact logic.
yeah. And and if you're a machine builder that you're still cranking out 1100s or 1400s today, it's
Right.
because you're worried about how much you're going to pay for a processor.
Right.
Whereas the CPU in compact logics is going to be maybe double what a 1400 cost.
Right. Yep.
So, but what I keep hearing is, well, we don't like CCW and how it programs. Have you done any programming in CCW yet?
I took a quick glance at it, but I don't have more than an hour's worth of time. But then again, I mean, I haven't programmed in 7 years, so
Yeah. Well, CCW in its infant phase was painful and not enjoyable.
probably
Uh,
probably made by somebody else. It
so,
wasn't Alan Bradley, right?
yeah. So, and I may be wrong on this, but if I'm not mistaken, it's originally isograph. I know that when the program starts up, it calls isograph a lot, which was originally used in the Schneider Electric SCADA packs. That was their IEC programming language software. And I don't know. I just downloaded version 20. I got a project that I'm working on right now. 20 is supposed to have a little better upload download speeds, but we'll see.
I had one person make the comment the fact that the software had the ability almost more than the RSlogix 5000, and the fact of more probably a little bit better ability for AOIs to make changes on the fly.
Yes, you can do AOIs which they're not called AOIs. It's called user-defined instructions.
Okay.
You can build your own structures. You can do Modbus. You can do auto-tune PID loops. You can do
Nice.
structure text, function block, ladder. And I mean, from what I've done with the Micro 800, it's a workhorse. It can be painful when you have a really big program, but
these should be primarily used for things that you kick out quite often, right?
mm-hmm. Yep. Like if you have a conveyor control, small machine control. I mean, we use them for oil and gas, well site automation. I mean, they do good for what they are.
Now, are you always bringing those to one of the Allen Bradley CC panel views or whatever, or are
No.
you using something else?
No, we're using uh we'll either have a Proface HMI running GP Pro EX, or we'll have an IPC running their Blue Open Studio software, which is a light
Do you?
SCADA system.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, you and me both kind of agree that like utilize Allen Bradley for just the PLC purpose, but as soon as it gets outside the PLC, it's just like anything else other than.
I, I don't know. I got a project that I'm working on right now where we have the panel view 7, I think, which is programmed with CCW,
Oh wow. Okay.
and it's not bad. Uh,
Now, price point wise, but the CC is kind of a lot cheaper, a lot more affordable, right?
well, it's free for
Okay.
one. If you bite off and buy the developer edition, you'll spend about $500-600,
Okay. Yeah, that's
and
really sweet.
it gives you the ability to lock your code and you know do structures. You can do online edits, which is a nice thing.
Nice. Yeah, that's really nice.
The the one thing that I wish that Alan Bradley would do better is bring the
Wait.
capability.
One thing.
Well, there's a few things that I wish Alan Bradley would do better, but when it comes to the micrologix, I wish they would make it able to handle. I wish they could bring the functionality from 5000 where you have an EIP device. All you got to do is upload the EDS file,
Right.
and then you have all those tags available. I wish they had that capability with the Micro 800.
Wow.
I feel like you can do it, but you have to do it all manually,
Right. Right.
which, yeah, I don't know. I get it. They're probably trying to keep their
RSlogix people happy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably where their main. I mean, I just think that the Micro 800 was a solution. Um, back in '07, '08, '09. I started seeing a lot of people utilizing a smaller these micro PLCs, but Allen Bradley was obviously losing a lot of market share on these, and so they provided a solution to it, which is buy another company out, and here comes Micro 800s.
Well, and if they bought somebody out, um, they've done pretty decent with it.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Definitely affordable as long as you understand that it's not. Hopefully, it doesn't expand past its limits. That's all.
Well, I mean, you look at processors today. I mean, it really there's.
Right. For the price you're paying for them,
Yep.
it's incredible. Yeah, yeah. A lot of older PLCs used to struggle with this. I've dealt with modicons that have run out of memory and all kinds of stuff, and you got to get real fancy with the usage and that kind of stuff. So yeah, cool. All right, we'll move on. Anything on the old machines? Like you know, you just kind of feel that some of these companies are probably keeping these older machines just running too long.
Uh, well, not that I feel like they're keeping them running too long. I feel like they need to have a plan in place to say, hey, you know, this case erector on this line, or hey, a lot of the plants that I go to, they'll have 4 lines that are running, but that they can run at any time, but they'll have like line 3 down. 3 and 4 are always down. They're kind of like their hot standbys.
Right.
Well, why don't you take line 4 go ahead and update it. Okay, bring it online, then take line 1, update it, and just
Right.
have a plan in place to update your machines before. Guess what? You have a line down that you can't get a part for, or if you can get the part, the amount of money that you're going to pay to get the processor, to get the chassis, to get the I/O card. I
Yeah,
mean,
something tells me from what I've witnessed is that they're going to wait until the last minute until it really causes a problem, then worry about it.
yep.
It's always a reactive rather than a preventative.
Yeah, and I wish that business would not be so reactive and have more of a plan in place for that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great change in our industry if we could change that culture.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on. So the next one is why can't factories get consistent machines? Sorry, from OEMs. So, um, and as far as like more consistency, what are you seeing not consistent? The
Well,
programs or is the machine itself or
I
is
mean,
it
I've seen
different?
it where there's 2 brand new machines coming into a plant. One's got Siemens and one has Allen Bradley on it, and they're both brand new machines by 2 different manufacturers.
You know, and that causes like the maintenance staff or the control staff to now have two different virtual machines with two different pieces of software. And usually that runs around, I don't know, it could run anywhere from you know, several grand to $10,000 for a permanent license
Oh yeah, I
on
would
each
say 10
system.
grand per machine just to
Yeah,
have the software to deal
right.
with it.
And then you're talking about like how many people are going to need it, so licenses cost. So
Yep.
I mean, there's additional cost to it.
Well, if and I'm all for if a plant wants to just buy machines and expect the machine builders to service it. Uh, but have some consistency, because how many plants have you been to that you've seen Snyder, Allen Bradley, Siemens, Automation Direct, all on
Right.
the same line? Hey,
Yep.
we need to make all this go back to the SCADA system.
Yep. And then they're like, hey, especially when we start getting into the OEE stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, hey, I want to get data out of this machine, and that machine. I'm like, well, all three machines have different programs, and they're all written separately. They're all unique snowflakes. So
Yep.
the cost associated with now all of a sudden is a lot. And they're like, well, this kind of sucks because it's not standardized code and it's not easier to pull out. Well, it's like, well, these are decisions that you know when they purchase a machine that they should have decided. But I just feel that those people who are making those decisions are probably basing some other different factors. Are they not looking at that uh, the collateral damage that is caused
Well, the
by bringing
people
up?
that are in charge of purchasing and that are looking at it, all they know is it has a PLC and an HMI. They assume
Right.
it's the same. They think it's, no different than an iPhone. Well, whether you have an Apple iPhone or a Samsung iPhone, hey, you can make phone calls off of it, right?
Right.
Um, so when they're ordering it, they're not. I think it's just an educational thing.
Right.
Um, purchasing and accounting, because those are really the 2 departments that are in control of that. They lack education in that realm, even though they're in charge of purchasing it. At the end of the day, all they see is, hey, it has a PLC. We can the sales guy is saying, yeah, you can integrate it into your SCADA system.
Yep.
Beyond that, they get to check their boxes and call it good. I met the requirements. It has a PLC. It has an HMI. Hey, it can integrate into a SCADA system.
Yep.
Done.
Yep. Well, hopefully they'll get to talk to an integrator before they pull the trigger and purchase
No,
it.
No, 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 no. Integrator would ask too many questions. See,
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
I,
Yeah.
I was involved with a purchasing person at a factory, and he asked me some questions and said, "Hey, is there anything that I need to tell these guys?" And I said, "Well," I sent him an email with a list of all the questions he needed to ask, was like some standards, and the response back from all the machine builders are, "Yeah, if you want that, it's going to cost you more," or "We don't do that. You get what you get." That was pretty interesting of being involved in that,
Yeah.
because he was like, I just need to get these machines. I don't want to cost any more, and I don't want to delay them. I just need them here on the floor. And all it was if you're gonna have a controllogic or a CompactLogix, it was to be on this version of Studio 5000, this firmware. If you're using a micrologix, replace the micrologix with a micro 800, because, hey, this is a factory line that's going in 2018. Why does it need to have equipment that is really at the end of its life?
Right.
Update your stuff. That way, we're spending millions of dollars on the machinery now. Update the processors. Nope, not going to do it. And then they just caved and said, we're just going to take what we can get so we can get production running.
Yeah. Well, and they're because pulling some of these old machines out of the production line seems virtually impossible. So, yeah, it's typically critical part of the equipment, and it's a mess. It's a mess. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to? We'll move on to the next one.
Oh, yeah.
So, electricians and operators becoming the last-minute automation techs. So, you kind of like have any kind of stories about this, or like go
Well,
into?
I don't. I wish companies that had electricians that always become the guy on the end of the phone. Hey, this machine's not working right. I think something's going on in the program. I wish they at least had some basic training to at least plug in a laptop, connect to the program, and call somebody.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. But I think business needs to invest in these employees and understand that they're the ones that are keeping the plant running, and they need to know what they're touching. I mean, how many times have you got a phone call from an electrician or an operator, and they go, "Brant, something changed in the program." What do you mean?
Yeah.
Now,
Meanwhile, nobody's touched it for
nobody's
years.
touched it.
Yeah. You're right.
Well, what do you mean? Well, now all of a sudden it's doing this funky sequence. Yeah. Well, come to find out, there was something time related was adjusted, or a sensor's malfunctioning, but everybody always defaults to there's something changed in the program.
Right.
And I feel like there's another realm where education and some training would do some people good in keeping plants running.
Right. What I've also come across is the fact that it's the HMI that is so poorly done that doesn't give the actual maintenance guys or the operators the ability to troubleshoot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they've got start and stop and all kinds of stuff, but can you toggle anything safely? Can you look at trends to see what happened? Can you see what the reason why it's not going to the next step? So some of those things are just missing. Typically, what I see is those are missing in the HMI. So, I mean, I'd like the electricians and operators to not have to actually, get into the PLC programming at first. But say they have to, you're right. They need some training on every single machine. Yep.
Yep.
Well, let's move on to clickety clack. Uh,
My favorite.
so, um, I didn't know what clickety clack was, but as soon as you said relay logic, that makes sense. Anybody who's been through electronic classes, you know, I'm sure they've kind of gone through some relay logic. Um, at least, hopefully, still today.
Well, it's a dying skill set. Um, I can't believe how many people I have to walk through on how to wire up a simple latch circuit with a reset. And, in our industry, you get thrown a lot of curveballs where, hey, we need to go do X at this facility, and the electrician or the technician, they've been programming flow computers, doing instrument setup. They have zero knowledge in how to wire up, relays to control a pump. Um, but yeah, it's a skill set that's dying out, and I wish colleges and I wish colleges would push it a little more heavily because it's still a valuable skill set. You don't always need to have a smart relay or a PLC to do 3 functions.
Because the first program that a PLC programmer will write is just inefficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as they're using too many coils, they might
Yep.
be using some latching bits and unlatching bits and all kinds of other stuff. So, where the relay logic comes in really well is you really have to think about what you're using. Otherwise, you're going to just waste a lot of money and resources just wiring all these relays up. So, the logic just has to be rock solid.
Well, and if you look at PLC ladder, it was designed to make it easier for the people who knew relay logic to go to the processors.
Right.
You can learn relay logic, which most people can. When you transition from that to a PLC, it'll make your life 80% easier.
Right.
With understanding what's going on.
Right.
Now, structured text and function block, that's another story. But that ladder logic can be a lot easier if you know it.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, and there's probably a couple of applications where, it's I'm a tech guy, so I naturally want to throw a PLC everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there might be some applications where maybe it's a very, very simple machine, whatever the case is, and I can actually build a relay logic inside of the. Sometimes you can buy the cabinets, the operator station cabinets, just a little bit deeper,
Mm-hmm.
and just a few relays with some timers, and that might be just sufficient for the machine.
Correct.
Yep.
And it gives the operator those relay timers gives the technician the ability to twist on those, and make them happy. They can tweak things.
Right. I never did get to see this, but in college we talked about this. But there was a lot of relay logics for elevators.
Yep.
So I don't know if anybody has ever done any kind of type of elevator logic, whatever. It starts out really super simple, just going from level 1 to level 2.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start getting into a little bit more and expand out, it gets complex really fast.
Well, what do you think it looks like in a PLC?
Oh, I'm sure it's a mess. I'm sure.
I mean, it's probably no different.
I think my favorite is that everybody goes up to it, and I call it the elevator syndrome. But it's the notion that they've programmed in the PLC that if I hit this button more, like multiple times, it'll override some kind of like priority setting that it's got. So it'll take you priority over somebody else. Which I doubt any programmer has ever done that. In fact, I can only see programmers doing the opposite. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna do next is a comparison of PLCs and which one is more of a scalable solution. So um,
Just throw all of those away and just go to PLCnext. Be done with it. Just
really,
give up
that
on Allen Bradley. I'm just
and I've been
kidding.
told that. Well, I mean, I've been told that biggest PLC that you can buy right now, as far as the processing speed and memory, is a PLCnext. They have a version that goes all the way up.
Yep.
So that's pretty impressive. I mean, I live in the world of Allen Bradley mainly because most of my customers kind of standardize on it. Sometimes I see Modicon. I definitely see some Siemens machines. Um, but have you've already done a project in PLCnext, right?
I have 2 projects going on currently. They're on hold right now, but no, I'm so far everything I've seen with PLCnext, I really love.
I definitely like, and maybe I could show my screen. What I do like is the where how dense you can actually get the I/O.
Oh yeah. By the
So
way, if I'm not mistaken, the cards are hot swappable.
oh wow, okay,
Yep. Because there's really a chassis behind it on the DIN rail.
that's pretty slick. Yeah, I can imagine utilizing DIN rail above and below, and just having whether it's inputs or outputs, and just going that way. If I had a input output density that was really high, I could see myself using it.
Yep. Yeah, their IO density is very high.
What's your feeling on the Opto
I haven't
22?
messed with it.
Okay, seems like they slightly more expensive, but quite a bit of power. They have both the same features as far as PLCnext. As far as I guess you can go in if there was a quad core processor that it uses, you can actually dictate one of the cores to like another virtual machine or a Docker,
Yep.
or you could run hypothetically you can run Ignition Edge. You can run I think both of them. Maybe I'm sorry. Let me take this back. PLCnext actually does have a web hosting HMI you can
Yes.
use. I didn't get enough to play around with it, but I'm kind of curious to see what is.
It,
I mean,
it's
that,
limited.
okay,
But for out of the box, basic. The only thing that I haven't worked through yet is the alarms,
okay,
which there is an alarm document, but it's an OPC. So everything
okay,
that you put to alarm documents, it's going to be on OPC UA.
okay. Um, and another thing that was kind of neat is the fact that in the PLCnext you can actually run those off of just some of their industrial PCs.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, list
and
price on that little guy right there is probably $1,100.
okay, yeah, I just foresee supply chain issues if that still kind of remains an issue. Um, you need to not have if you are doing an application in here. We'll go to it here where you've got multiple sites, right? You don't need necessarily an Allen Bradley here, some other brand here, some other brand or version here. You want all these unique, all the same, all standard. Um, and so I kind of foresee that this would be the only way to go. Your I/O, as far as your, can be anything, right? It could be Allen Bradley, it can be Automation Direct, it could be PLCnext, it could be whatever.
What? Yeah.
But you need to be, especially when you start feathering out to like 7, 15, 20, 50. I can only see Dockers being the solution to this. That way you can maintain uh, version control. Anyway, just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Um,
So have you
your
done
thoughts?
anything with the new compact logic that's got a Windows 7 OS on it?
No, no, I have not. Windows 7?
Not Windows 7. Windows 10 IoT. My bad.
Okay, not bad. So I can see I could, and then you can run whatever you want off that. Yeah,
Yep.
I can see that.
I just wish
Um,
they'd bring it to the Micro 800 line.
right. Yeah. I mean, anytime where you can eliminate a device, it seems like it's just one point of failure that you would eliminate. Um, so if you did that, all you'd have is just a instead of a PC here per se. I'm sorry. Instead of just a PLC, you also have you're running some kind of HMI software, right? And I'm assuming that I guess this is where the disadvantage is. You don't have an HDMI coming out of here, so you can just go to a touchscreen monitor. You actually have to go to an actual touchscreen PC.
No, you
Okay.
don't. You can use a web HMI.
Okay.
So Phoenix makes one. Proface makes one. They're HTML5 only. So it's like it's running Chrome or a version of Chromium. And you could use it for an ignition application if you wanted to. They're
Perfect.
real cheap. They're not bad.
And then the OS is kind of locked out, right? So
Yeah, there is zero programming besides your initial setup of what web server you want it to go to get its
right.
information.
And that's scalable. I
Yep.
get that. Yep. And who doesn't want less support? Bringing on a piece of equipment is one thing, but if you don't have to support it so much, it, you've just dropped the amount of money that you have to spend on it, just on support alone.
Yep.
Um. So any what's your opinion on when do you go from the micro 800s to more of the Allen Bradley compacts and the controls? Do you ever see yourself using these?
Oh yeah. I mean, bigger blending systems. Um, Honestly, I feel like even the one blending system that we've done, I feel like we could have done it with a micro 800 and been fine.
Fair enough. As
Um,
long as sometimes there's limitations on how far the Ethernet will go, right? How many connections you can make. Is that probably what's holding you back?
yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just an IO hub with a program running in it. Um, you know, you I want to say that we've probably got. I know on one of them we got 16 connections running simultaneously, and it doesn't even hiccup, doesn't flinch.
Right.
Um, Although my one hesitation with using the Micro 800 in that application is just the ability to do online editing and AOIs and communication to Ethernet IP devices. That would be what I would probably, instead of going with the controllogics, I'd probably go to compact, like a 5380 processor.
Okay.
Now, I know when you get into processors and remote I/O, I really like your methodology behind it. You have one processor with multiple I/O racks, and they're just I/O racks. The processor never changes.
Right. You're talking about more like this, where
Yep.
you just yeah, everything's Ethernet.
Yep.
Yeah, because sometimes like the customer is like, I only wanted to do this operations or this like only two mixers, whatever the case is. We'll set them up with a cheaper processor, and then 2, 3, 5 years to go down the road, they go, yeah, we have this old section that we need you to take care of, and we're gonna modernize this section, whatever. And all I got to do, I don't even have to swap out the car. You know, Ethernet cards stay, the power supply stays, the safety relay partner stays, and I just throw this processor out, and then swap it out with something better.
Do y'all do redundant processors?
I used to at my last company, and it was a big thing years ago. But what we realized, and when they did an analysis, we had the company that we were doing a lot of work for did an analysis on it. They realized that is not the failure point that usually fails. And one fatal flaw on the Allen Bradley redundancy was that it's synchronized, right? So say you've got no development area and you're making online programming changes. You could possibly, what you do is you make let's say an array of 10, and if you get that pointer to outside of the range of 10, boom, not only does that shut off and fault your processors, but because it's synchronized, it shuts off the other one. So we've had programmers shut down redundant systems. So it just doesn't work the way you would think it would work. Is my complaint. And to be honest with you, because Allen Bradley makes their own power supplies, I haven't seen a power supply fail. And they seemed and this could be just my data points, but I don't generally see controllogic systems fail. Something massively must have happened, like electricity or a bolt of lightning or something of the sort would have had a mess with it. So we don't offer it to any other customers.
Okay.
Mainly because we can usually get them up with a rapid recovery of something else. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Have you kind of experienced something different, or?
No. Like I said, most of the stuff that we do is pretty small, so
Yeah.
we don't get to play in the big boy league.
Yeah, I generally start thinking that it's more of a snake oil type of system, mainly because just because of the robustness of PLCs, and they just don't fail very often. Again, you have to have the right application, you got to have the right system set up, but generally we're shoving these panels in a very good, clean room away from everybody else. It's usually the door is locked. It's hard to get to them to try to eliminate theft, because you just don't want a disgruntled employee just grabbing the processor and running out the door. So,
Yep.
um, so yeah, that's just been my experience, in my opinion. But the redundancy is kind of overkill.
Okay.
I think everybody else. I mean, we can talk about servers, but I think I have more issues with fans in servers getting dusty and dirty over a few years is a bigger issue than the actual PLC. That's my take.
Isn't that funny that like the one thing that brings down most of these systems is just lack of maintenance and not being educated in what's going on? Like
Right.
two things that any company could do to increase uptime, and yeah.
I mean, let's. I'm not gonna. I mean, I don't want to. It's not. I don't want to be knocking Dell just in general. I like. There's great products. I just don't know if I trust it for industrial purposes. And so the compromise to having such a slim rack is they've got these hyper, uh, fans inside of them. That means it pulls some crazy amount of air through them. And so these guys just fail. out on a production floor. I had one customer that their product was salt. Salt was inside of their product. It pulled salt in here. I get a call some randomly at a random time. We opened this up because it was displaying. It wasn't this unit, but it had a fan. It says fail. Fan failed. Whatever the case is. We open it up, completely white inside, completely solid white, salt everywhere. And then maybe that was my worst case, but again, it's fans that fail. It's for me, it's definitely not the process.
Well, this makes a good case for fanless IPCs,
Right.
and then where I can be okay with data going to the cloud. If you want to back up your long-term storage to the cloud, that's where
Right.
it should go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because this on the production floor. I mean, look, we've done our best as far as like we'll put them into a closet, we'll put them into the office, we'll do everything we can. But if it's running and it's just back in the closet, nobody sees it, nobody maintains it. It just it just
Well, you don't let the IT guy know about it?
IT guys rarely open them up, right? They just work, whatever the case is. So yeah, I don't know. Some of the mom and pop shops don't have a IT person there on site. They don't. All right, so let's talk about. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll start another. We'll go from another day.
All right.
Well, that's finished up this episode. This is, of course, Johnny Jones from Indusol. I'm
Yep.
Brant with Agile Automation, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.